Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime, and it is time to talk about the 10 hardest brawlers to push, voted by you. I recently dropped a poll asking my viewers which brawlers they have a hard time pushing, and with almost 10,000 responses, I have a pretty good idea of which brawlers are hard to push. So today we're going to be doing 3 things. First of all, we are going to reveal the 10 hardest brawlers to push. Second of all, I'm going to be giving my 3 best tips to playing each of the brawlers. And third, I'm going to cover the best maps and modes for you to push each of these brawlers. Now my suggestions are going to be completely based off of win rates and use rates in both the non-competitive and the competitive metas, which were provided to me by brawlstats.com. And because of that, guys, you know that the information is bias-free and very solid. But before we get started, guys, I want you to comment which 3 brawlers you think are the hardest to push in the game, and you get 1 point for each one that was voted by my viewers as a difficult brawler to push. You get an additional point if you guess one of the top 3 brawlers, and if you guess the top 3 in order, you get a bonus 1,000,000 points. And that means something. Coming in 10th place is Poco. Now Poco's best 2 modes are Gem Grab and Brawl Ball, but he's also low-key very easy to push in Showdown because he has great survivability. Now in case you're curious, the competitive graphs are above 700 trophies and the non-competitive graphs are below 700 trophies for that specific brawler. We're not talking about total trophies. We're talking about trophies for one specific brawler. Now Poco's best 3 gem grab maps are Royal Flush, Cell Division, and Double Swoosh, but he can be played in nearly all of the gem grab maps very well. His best 3 Brawl Ball maps are Pinhole Punt, Slalom, Slam, and Backyard Bull, but once again, he can be played in nearly all of the Brawl Ball maps. My first tip for playing Poco is to attack at range, and you can actually minimize your own damage taken by keeping your distance while also giving the enemy a hard time. My second tip is to attack in bursts. A single attack from Poco is very unthreatening, and you're rarely going to get a kill if you only just throw off 1 attack at a time. You can let off a single attack here or there, but the best way to get kills as Poco is to wait until you can actually burst down a brawler with all of your attacks, then fall back while you reload. Now my third tip for Poco is to watch your super charge. Enemy players won't know if you're about to charge up your super and heal up, and you can use that to your advantage to turn the tides by going on the offense when you know you're about to charge up your super, and then it doesn't matter if you take a little bit of damage, you can just heal up really quickly. This is especially beneficial if you're at low health, because enemies will think that you're an easy target and really take the bait, even if they shouldn't, because you're about to heal up. Coming in 9th for being the hardest brawler to push, the 9th hardest brawler, we have Jessie. Now Jessie's really interesting because despite having a similar use rate regardless of trophy range, she has a very high win rate below 700 trophies and the lowest win rate above 700 trophies. Now her best modes are Heist, Gem Grab, and Brawl Ball. In Heist, she only consistently does well in Safe Zone and Hot Potato as well. Now below 700 trophies, she is viable on other maps, maybe even below 600 trophies, but I wouldn't play her competitively on any other heist map. In Gem Grab, Jessie's best maps are Spring Trap, Escape Velocity, and Death Cap Cave. Now in Brawl Ball, her best maps are Super Stadium, Center Stage, Sneaky Fields, and Post Haste. My first tip for Jessie is to position her turret so that it actually will counter the brawlers that you're facing against. Long range brawlers and short range brawlers can both be countered by her turret depending on the positioning. Look at the enemy team comp and decide which would be better. Against short range brawlers, you want to place her turret out in the open so it's hard for them to get to it without taking damage. And against long range brawlers, you want to place her turret behind a wall on the enemy side of the map. This way, they have to get within range of the turret in order to shoot it. Now, if an enemy has a thrower on their team, you want to position your turret so to the opposite side that the thrower's on. So like if they're left lane, you want to focus on the right lane so that they can't counter it very well. And if you're facing a team with multiple different types of brawlers, you want to make sure that you're playing the left lane to the right lane and counter whichever brawler is on the left and right and vice versa. You get the idea. My second tip is aiming at high traffic locations. Now this is a really important skill for any brawler where you really need to make every shot count. Basically, this is shooting at locations on maps where enemies are most likely to move. Obviously, this includes gems, bolts, the bounty star, the brawl ball, but it also includes cutting off enemies from escape routes and shooting at corners next to walls where players are more likely to pop out from behind, or that they're likely to run to. Third tip is to obviously aim at groups. The fact that Jessie's attack bounces targets makes her really the bane of bunching. Yeah, don't bunch against Jessie, obviously. If you see a couple of targets close to each other, focus on those shots on those groups instead of focusing on an individual target. If an enemy does spawn something, aim for the turret or the spawnable to make it even easier to hit some shots. For 8th place, we have Barley being a difficult brawler to push, and I actually recruited Olive Oil for his best tips on playing Barley, as he's widely known as one of the best Barley players in the game. Now, Barley's best 2 game modes are Siege and Heist, with some decent viability and takedown actually. Now, in Showdown, the reason why he has a high win rate above 700 trophies is because throwers tend to team in high trophies, and you know, you guys aren't going to do that, obviously. Hashtag stop the spin hashtag. I think that's how hashtags work. Now, in Heist, his best maps are Rolling Rumble, Pit Stop, and Hot Potato, and in Siege, his best maps are Some Assembly Required, Nuts and Bolts, and Junk Park, which is every map other than Factory Rush. Don't play him on Factory Rush. First tip is to spread your super. This is from Olive Oil here. You can increase the spread of your super by moving away while using it. The super will still reach maximum range, but the bottles will be more spread out, allowing you to control the map better. Second tip is to focus on 2 tick damage and control. When I say 2 tick damage, I mean both ticks of damage from a single attack. The best way to get value from your shots is to shoot where the enemy brawler is going or where you don't want them to go, and attack so that they are just at the edge of the attack, so that if they continue to walk through it, they'll take 2 ticks of damage. Now that said, most likely they're going to switch directions, so you can actually do the same thing on the other side of them, essentially trapping them and guaranteeing damage. Third tip is to use walls and fake movements. Obviously, Barley is best played on maps with walls that you can use to protect himself. But as a bonus tip, you can actually deal with close range brawlers like Mortis by shooting a few shots right behind you as you run away, and then run toward the enemy brawler. A lot of the times, close range brawlers will re-engage in the chase despite, you know, the fact that they'll take some damage, and walk through your shots that you dropped earlier. And this is a great way to take out a brawler if you know that they're going to get you regardless. Next brawler, not much of a surprise, 7th place is Dynamite, and I asked Lukey Bear for some tips, as he is known as one of the best Dynamite players in the game. The Dynamite's best modes are Heist, Siege, and Takedown. Once again, the only reason why he does well in Solo Showdown above 700 trophies is because of mass throwers teaming with each other. You don't like it, I don't like it. Nobody likes it, stop doing it. Now, his best maps in Takedown are Maze Mayhem and Training Montage. In Heist, his best maps are Pit Stop, Rolling Rumble, and in Siege, his best maps are Some Assembly Required, Nuts and Bolts, and Junk Park. Now, Lukey Bear's first tip is to increase area by attacking at max range. The further out that Dynamite attacks, the more spread out his 2 dynamites actually are, meaning that you'll cover more ground. Additionally, if Dynamite doesn't attack at maximum range, there's time where his Dynamite sticks are on the ground before they explode, and it makes it very easy for enemy players to dodge them and just avoid getting hit by them. So, once again, keep your distance from enemy players and attack at max range. Second tip is to use your super often. Dynamite super charges up like really quickly. It also provides a knockback and deals a ton of damage. Plus, if you hit 2 enemies with 1 super, Dynamite super will recharge instantly. Unlike some brawlers that have a super that you want to save, you don't do that with Dynamite. Just freely use it whenever you feel like there's a good opportunity to use it and to hit a brawler. Third tip is to change your targets. It's really easy to get value with your attacks and your supers if the enemy players aren't really paying attention and are not focusing on you. The best way to do this is to focus on one target, and when you have another enemy that is kind of like distracted by one of your teammates, actually switch to that target. And switching targets at the right time is a really great way to catch people off guard, and can help you guys clutch some kills, and is a really great way to improve your Dynamite gameplay. Next up is Frank, coming in as the 6th hardest brawler to push. Now, Frank's best modes are Brawl Ball and Siege. He can be pushed on all of the Brawl Ball maps, but his best ones are Beach Ball, Sneaky Fields, Course, and Sunny Soccer. Now, his maps are more limited in Siege because they removed some of his best maps, but he's still excellent in Factory Rush, and it's also pretty good in Some Assembly Required. My first tip to playing Frank is to not destroy the walls. Now, there are a few exceptions to this, like a wall that's protecting a Brawl Ball goal. Obviously, you want to get rid of that wall. And there's also a time when like a thrower's wall is protecting an enemy player and you can get rid of it to, you know, remove their advantage. That can also be a good advantage when you have a long-range teammate that can take care of that thrower. But other than that, You want walls on the field when you're playing with Frank. You also want grass. If you destroy them with your super early on, that will make you an easy target for enemy players to pick on. A skilled Frank will use walls to hide and stay alive, but will avoid destroying too many walls with their super so that they can remain strong throughout the entire duration of the match. Second tip for Frank is don't save your super. Now, obviously, you can save, it's a good idea for you to save a super for like a really clutch moment when, you know, if you have like a high priority target, you can take them out. But for Frank, you don't actually need to save your super in most cases. Aside from like the squishiest brawlers like Tick, Barley, Rico, Piper, Spike, and Crow, Frank can stun and use 2 attacks to recharge his super while also taking out an enemy player. In other words, if you have an opportunity to safely use your super and guarantee a kill, it's almost always the right decision to do that. Third tip to playing Frank is flash to scare. Skilled players know to run away as soon as they see that yellow ring around Frank. You can use this to push enemy brawlers back without using your super by aiming it and then dragging your finger back to the center of the joystick and letting go. This is going to save your super, but it's also going to like push the enemy back because they're going to be afraid of getting stunned. It's not a bad idea to just have it flashed if you're not going to use it. If you are going to use it, you might want to wait till you're in a bush. That's another bonus tip. Use your super when you're in the bush so people can't see you. Hey guys, so this video project ended up being a lot more time consuming than I thought. And so rather than continuing on with the rest of the list, I'm actually going to save it for part 2. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that. As for your comments in the section below, remember what you put down for the next video when we reveal the 5 hardest brawlers to push. For now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.